Thank you for coming tonight. We intentionally made it somewhat difficult to be in this group. And the reason being, we wanted to narrow it down to the people that are ready to make change. Does that make sense? How many of you have been to an event and it was really good, but it didn't really change that much? Maybe a little bit of motivation, but your lifestyle didn't change that much. And the goal would be that by the end of these 3 weeks, that the way that you're living is better and better for you. Health just blesses us with the ability to do so much. So that's the goal of these 3 weeks. So thank you for being here. The fact that you signed up, you committed, you paid, you're part of this, that means that you're committed in a way that is in that top tier, which is really great to see. So now we just want to take that a level further. Okay. Toxicity is a very broad topic. It's very vast, but it's also very deep. So you could take one thing and spend hours and hours and hours and weeks and weeks and weeks on that. And if that's your thing or that's what you need to focus on, we can go there, but we're not going to do that as a group. As a group, we're going to do overviews, and then we're going to get more detailed in our individual breakoff groups, and then one-on-one with your group leader. Okay, so if you need to communicate with them, so you have access to us throughout this entire thing. Sound good? So before we get started, we always want to engage in some way. So you can just turn to the person next to you, give them a high five. Give them a high five. The thing with toxicity is it's easy to get overwhelmed, right? And so I thought this was a good quote. So this is Winston Churchill. And I thought he lived at a time where there was some overwhelm, right? And so he knows a thing or two about this. But he says, in critical and baffling situations, it's always best to return to first principle and simple action. And I thought that's really good. So if you start feeling overwhelmed, because a lot of times it can feel overwhelming to dive into this topic, just go back to principles and simple action. That's where you want to go back to. Does that sound fair? Just principles and simple action, because a lot of people will get overwhelmed and then they stop. This topic can feel like a lot at first, but once you start making changes, it's I think one of the easier ones of all of the essentials to work at, because there's less thought once you get rhythms in play. Okay, sound fair? So go back to principle and simple action. The principles we want to focus on, number one, is God designed your body to heal. So yes or no, are you designed to heal?
Yes.
Right? So every bruise that heals, every cut that heals, every ache or pain that heals, that's God in action. God designed your body to heal. The second is the body needs no help healing. It doesn't need your help. It just needs no interference. So say interference. Interference. Your body just needs no interference. And so come back to these principles if you feel baffled or overwhelmed. Your body's designed to heal and it just needs no interference. So when we jump into this, what's our purpose? We want to continue to help you to advance in your health, and we want you to just have a standard for healthcare. Would you all agree that just conventional or common health is just not that good? Right? You want to be exceptional. You want to be above average. You want to be uncommon, right? In a very positive way. So we want to help you become uncommon with your health so you can actually have real health. Because average in the United States is awful. And so we want to be better than that, right? Come on, you guys all know it's true. We want to be better than average, and it just takes intentional understanding and application. So I just if you ever see just some things that will catch your mind differently, you're walking through a store, you see the Under Armour logo. I like that UA because it's understanding and apply. I'm like, God, if people can understand and apply. If I can understand and apply, it's life-changing. So I don't know that I love Under Armour, but I like that logo. So I'll be walking around and I'll see that different places. It makes me think about that. Understand and apply, that's what we want to see. The flow of our layout. So we have it divided into different weeks so we can digest this easier. So week one, we're going to focus on stop adding the toxins. Okay? So week one is stop adding it. Week two, next week, is how do we remove it? How do we actually detox the body? And then week three is how do we keep it clean? Does that make sense? And each of them are going to build on one another. And then what I put down here, what you get out of this is what you're going to put into this. We were talking as a team, we've never made something on toxicity this complex, this detailed to you specifically, giving you this much time to have one-on-one and the resources that you're going to get. And behind the scenes, our conversation was like, if you don't advance out of these couple of weeks, that's a you issue, okay? So in a really nice way, if you're 3 weeks in and things aren't better off, then maybe you need to assess your commitment and your willingness to engage. So in a really polite way, just engage and you'll be in a better spot. So we may need to be intense at times to help you, but understanding and action are what will really help you, so we want to take action. So say action. Action. Thank you, we're going to take action. So the average person could be exposed to 2,100,000 toxins every single day. So that's the world that we live in right now. In an average day, you can be exposed to over 2 million toxins. And when things are in your air, in the water, on your skin, it gets into your body. So your body has to be extremely efficient to get that stuff out. So if sometimes what happens is when people start to lose their health or they have poor outcomes, they start to blame their body or blame the creator of their body. You know how that goes? And in my mind, I sit here and think, you know what? When you actually know the facts, they say that the average person will take in 150 pounds of chemicals in a year. That they'll actually ingest 150 pounds of chemicals. So I weigh 190 pounds. That's like 3/4 of my body weight that you're ingesting in your body on average. What if you're above average in that category? 150 pounds. So your body's extremely intelligent to be able to get rid of the majority of that. And now I was kind of thinking of that same thought process. If you took in 150 pounds and your body was 90% effective at getting rid of it, it's still 15 pounds a year that you keep of toxins that just sit in your body. Or you say, what if your body was really good and you were removing 99% of the chemicals that come into your body? If we're just playing with that number, that's 1.5 pounds of chemicals that would stay in your body every single year. Isn't that amazing? And so your body has to be extremely intelligent to get rid of this stuff. So many times, like, you know, when people say, I can't believe I'm sick, sometimes I'm like, I can't believe you're still alive. So you gotta flip your mindset just a little bit here. I know, again, it might be a little bit harsh, but the reality is the world we live in, the way we take care of our bodies, the fact that we can enjoy life and enjoy health is a gift. And we got to keep coming back to that, because when you get overwhelmed, you need to come back to principles. The fact that you're living and breathing is a wonderful gift. The ability to heal is a wonderful gift. Okay. So now we're going to jump into 2 million toxins a day. Where can this come from? So it's found in your food, it's found in your water, it's found in your environments, your cosmetics, your cleaners, your containers. It's found in just all of the stuff that we're around. And the more man-made things become, in general, the harder it can be on your body. Okay? So if it's man-made, we usually have to pay a little bit closer attention to it. But I was just looking through just some basic things. I wanted to share with you what are some chemicals that are common chemicals in products and in things that you're exposed to, and what are they linked to? What are they finding studies that, like, hey, we're concerned that it actually is leading to these types of issues. So if we just look at some personal care products, so phthalates are in a lot of your cosmetics. It's linked to cancer, actually generating cancer, and then it's linked to disrupting hormones. You know, so you talk about thyroid issues, adrenal issues, fertility issues. Those are all hormone issues. Energy, fatigue, sleep, weight, it disrupts hormones. Parabens are linked in your cleaners and your cosmetics, linked to cancer. Sodium lauryl sulfate are in a lot of our soaps, shampoos, cleaners, linked to endocrine. It's an endocrine disruptor, so it messes with your hormones. DEA, hair products, cosmetic, linked to cancer. Triclosan is in a lot of your deodorant, your toothpaste, and your antibacterials. So like a lot of times when people are like, I'm gonna keep my hands clean. The stuff that, like, when I see people that come in and they have the stuff to clean their hands, I cringe every time. I'm like, what's the right way to have this conversation? But that's linked to hormone disruptors. It's really hard on your hormones. Synthetic fragrances is a fancy way to say if somebody says it's a fragrance, they're saying we want to hide our blend of what we use to create this scent. So we're not going to display all of our ingredients. Does that make sense? So they have the right to do that. So that means they can put whatever they want in there. And so depending on the product that you have, it can do different things. Octinoxate and oxybenzone, these are in your sunscreens. They're concerned about how it affects DNA. Formaldehyde is in your nail polish and in your vaccines, and it's used to embalm bodies. That's linked to causing cancer and disrupting hormones. Triclocarbon is an antimicrobial, again, harmful to the reproductive system. So they're seeing that, like, it's not just like fatigue. You know what I mean? A lot of these are, when they actually are studying, they're saying, hey, these are big problem issues. And that's a concern. That's just our personal care products, and that's in a lot of them. And by a lot of them, I mean most conventional personal care products. And then we get into foods. And I just did a short list of the foods. I kept it to 3 pages of foods. So I'm just going to read through this real fast. I just want to get you the concept, okay? Just the concept. Sodium nitrate, it's in processed meats, linked to cancer. Sulfites in fresh food, it's to keep foods fresher, so you can keep it on the shelf, linked to breathing difficulties. Azodicarbonamide in bagels and buns, linked to asthma. Potassium bromate, breads, it's in your breads for the volume, linked to cancer. Propyl gallate it's a fat-containing product, linked to cancer. BHA, BHT is a fat preservative. This is the most toxic one in like your Lunchables and stuff like that. Extends the shelf life, linked to cancer, tumor growth. Propylene glycol, which is antifreeze, is what actually antifreeze is. Thickens dairy products and salad dressings, considered safe by the FDA. Interesting, we can actually put antifreeze in our food, and that's safe. Butane is in chicken nuggets, linked to cancer. MSG is in Flavor enhancer causes headaches, nerve damage, heart problems, seizures. That's what they're linked to. Then the other names for MSG below it are the next two. Enriched flours in your snack foods, linked to, it's just a toxic ingredient, enriched flour. That's in most of your boxed foods. RBGH is a genetically engineered version of natural growth hormone in cows, linked to cancer, of course. Refined vegetable oils, soybean oil, corn oil, safflower oil, canola oil, peanut oil, high in omega-6 fatty acids, linked to heart disease and cancer. Omega-6 are the ones that are going to be really inflammatory. Sodium benzoate, it's in your salad dressings and your like your carbonated beverages, linked to cancer and DNA damage. Vegetable oil in a lot of your flavored drinks. It's a poison that can cause organ damage and birth defects, not required to be listed on food labels. So like, there's just, I guess what I'm trying to, the point of this is, this stuff is more severe than you realize. It's easy, if you're like me, it's easy to just like pretend it's not that big a deal. Does that make sense? So the whole point of me walking through some of these things, like, is he still going? The whole point of me is I want you to know that this is a bigger deal than you realize. And the biggest lie that can influence toxicity affecting your health in a negative way is that you believe it's not that big a deal. And then what happens is you just don't do anything. Now, do you make all these changes at once? No, you just start chipping away at it, but it does make a big difference. Fat-soluble substance, cholesterol, unabsorbable in the body, causes digestive problems and heart problems. And we're going to skip through these ones, but you know about it, there's just more. And this was like part of the list. I'm just like doing a short list of what are some chemicals in foods that are not good for you. And we could have dozens of pages of this type of stuff. So the point is, there's toxicity in our environment. Here's the thing that I wanted you to get to. Chemicals are hard on hormones and the immune system. Most of the time, what we're finding is it's really hard on the immune system. That's why they're concerned about cancers. And then hormones, that's what they're talking about, like endocrine or hormone disruptors. It influences your hormones. Because as soon as you're exposed to this chemical, your body freaks out and has to adapt to it. That's going to affect your hormone balances. And then from there, if it's harmful to your body, it's going to affect your immune system. So when we have issues with hormones, we tend to be tired and fatigued. We tend to have cycle issues and reproductive issues, immune problems. We struggle to rest and focus. Those are the types of things that will happen when our hormones start to go haywire. The immune system, we tend to be tired. Think about when you have a cold or a flu, right? When you have an immune issue, you tend to be tired, joint pain, muscle pain. These are immune issues, more colds. And when you have a cold, you're healing slower in other areas. It's so taxing to fight the cold. It takes so much energy. You tend to heal slower in other areas. So you're recovering. Oh, I rolled my ankle, it heals in a couple of days. I have a cold and I rolled my ankle. It takes a week or a week and a half. You're healing slower because you're requiring so much energy for the immune system to fight off an infection or cold. But if we're having these types of responses to chemicals and toxicity, it's just a slower heal. And it's just harder to bounce back. So slower healing time can affect focus and memory. And so all of these things create interference. And what was the principle we said? Your body needs no help healing, it just needs no interference, right? And so that's what we want to focus on. How do we stop adding the interference, okay? So action step, what do we say? We want to take action. One of the best ways to do this, I'm sure that most of you have your phone on you. So if you can take your phone out, this is going to be one of the most important action steps you do tonight. Take your phone out and go to the part where you can download an app. Okay? You all should have that section. I don't know what it looks like. I'm not going to pretend to know technology. But
either the Play Store or the App Store.
App Store or the Play Store. So go to one of those and type in EWG Healthy Living App. And what you'll see is this symbol right here, this little E. That make sense? And I want you to download that. This will make your life a lot easier because if you come to us every other day and ask us the question, we're going to say, did you download the app? Okay? We're not going to, like, sometimes what you don't need is somebody to hold your hand. You just need to know how to do it on your own. So EWG Healthy Living App, and start downloading that. Once that downloads, this is an awesome app because you can pull it up. And there's a way you can scan a barcode. So let's say you're looking at something in your house. You say, how healthy is my shampoo? How healthy is my deodorant? How healthy, or you're walking through the store, you pull up that app and you can just shine the code on it and it will tell you, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is a 7, or this is a 6. 1 is good, 10 is bad. This is pretty toxic. Hey, this is a 2 or a 3. Hey, this one's not too bad. Our goal in our office is always to be above 4. So we're going to be a 3, 2, or 1. That's usually our goal with our things. So like as we were doing this, we were all saying, hey, go back into your homes and check out your personal care products like Be Congruent. practice what we preach, and we're just saying, how are we doing with some of these things? And I was like holding my breath and I'm checking some of the stuff. Because, and what happens is we'll have a resource for you all at the end. What happens is we'll tell you something's good, and then they change the product. You know what I mean? So we made a whole list of like good, healthy products, and then we tweaked it Hillary tweaked it for today. We didn't do anything. Hillary did that, and she tweaked it for today. But she's like, half of this stuff I had to take off of there because 3 years ago it was fine to recommend, but they changed it, right? So what you don't want is, hey, I had a conversation with Dr. Neal in 2012, and he said do this, right? Because if you just rely on that, that's not a good principle to go by. You want to be able to reevaluate, and they're constantly trying to update this app to keep it up to date. So it's really nice. You can just go through your stuff, or when you're buying different products in the store, you can just scan it on 2 or 3 different lotions or facial creams or whatever you're getting, and say, hey, this one's a better score. That's the one I want to get. Okay? This will make your life a lot easier. Yeah.
What do you scan? Is there a code or?
You can scan the barcode. Usually, you can scan the barcode. It will tell you in the app. Sometimes you can look at the front of the product, I believe. Usually the barcode is what I would scan. Or you can type in the product. You can type in, like, the deodorant I have is like a Schmidt's deodorant. I just ordered it online. And you can just type in the name if you couldn't get the barcode, and it tells you. I was glad that was a 1. So there we go. So
if you don't have room on your phone, like me, and you can't download another app because you have no more storage, ewg.org.
they have a website. It
and
just,
then there's a little button for Skin Deep app, and you can type in an ingredient. So you're reading your ingredients. You're like, what is this? You can type in the ingredient, or you can type in the brand name of the product.
I'm good. So we'll get back into that when we get into our small groups more. But that's a huge action step because it's going to make your life a lot easier. You can lean on that, and it's much more reliable than I will be on like a random conversation. Okay. Toxic load, something we want to talk about. So we see all those chemicals, all that interference. What is toxic load? So toxic load is basically saying, how much can your body handle? How much margin do you have? And so the analogy here is, we'll walk you through the analogy. The analogy looks like this. Imagine this bucket is your body, and your body can handle so much chemical, right? So in a given year, you might have food, air, personal care products, and it's just adding to the toxic load, and your bucket's just filling up. As long as it's filling up, in general, you tend to feel pretty good. You're not having a lot of symptoms. You're not having a lot of issues. I'm getting away with it. That's the attitude most people have. When I was young, I could get away with it, but now I can't. You ever hear that thought process, right? And so you feel like you're getting away with it because you haven't reached the breaking point. But what happens is everybody has a point where your body can't sustain it. And that may look different on different people depending on their history, depending on their health, depending on their ability to remove toxicity, depending on their lifestyle. That looks different, so it's not the same. But when you get to a certain point, when the bucket fills up to where it can't hold anymore, it overflows, that's when you start to have symptoms and disease and issues, right? And so what it can feel like is you can say, you know what, I just have, of course, the first one I pick up, facial cream, that's what I wrote. What do you call it? Moisturizer, perfect. Or a foundation, that's what I was thinking, foundation, right? Let's say, obviously I don't have this. But you're thinking, right? You're thinking, I'm getting away with it, right? Because it's not good for me, but it didn't overflow the bucket. So now the attitude is, I'm getting away with it. Or you say, our air quality is not great, but I'm getting away with it. Or the indoor air, this would be outdoor air, just a little one. Indoor air would be like a whole. Indoor air tends to be a lot more toxic than outdoor air. So the idea is, I want you to have the visual, right? You say, okay, I have an air freshener in my car, in my house. It's not that big a deal. I'm using a hand sanitizer, but I'm not having problems, Dr. Neal. You don't know what you're talking about, right? And you kind of just feel like you're doing just fine. You say, oh, here, what I have, non-stick pans, deodorant. Again, you just feel like you're getting away with it. And then lastly, laundry detergent, those types of things. That could have been a bigger one. But anyways, as long as it doesn't overflow, you feel like you're fine. And then as soon as you start to have symptoms, now you can freak out, or you can say, what happened? And in reality, this bucket is full. And so what we need to focus on these next 3 weeks is, one, how do we stop adding so much to the bucket? And in reality is you can't prevent it 100%. You never will. So if that's your attitude, your focus is off. You just say, how do I limit the amount that goes in so it's a slower pour? And then the next thing you got to figure out is, how do I remove what's in there? How do I start to empty it out as it's coming in? Can I empty out more than it's coming in, or at least the same amount, so I'm breaking even, right? And then lastly, we want to figure out how do we keep it low? How do we keep our toxicity levels low? So that's the stop adding, remove, keep it clean. That's what we want to focus on. Now, a couple things is this that I just wanted to put in here, some things that are bigger adds. One is your food, right? And you all know your food is a big one. And that's usually the one that's going to get people to overflow. And your food could be a gallon bucket depending on your lifestyle, or it could be a real small one depending on your lifestyle. So that's depending on choices and rhythm. The other one is this, recreation drugs and prescription drugs, right? These are chemicals and these are toxins, and they add to the bucket, and eventually you get the overflow. And somebody might say, well, I need the drug to handle this problem. And that's true, but it still adds a chemical. And so I thought it was interesting is like if the solution is always just add more toxins to the bucket, eventually your bucket can't handle it, right? And so if you're on something where you're saying, I have to stay on this or I'm having trouble getting off of this, then you may need to be doing more to detox throughout the year to get rid of that, okay? What else did I put on here? Oh, another drug, vaccine drugs. So drugs in the form of vaccines, because that is a drug, just so you guys know. Vaccine drugs, so that would be like your flu shot or your COVID shot, right? And that's an easy way to fill the bucket early on for a child to have this bucket halfway full from the get-go. Antibiotics, medications, that type of thing. That's an easy way to fill the bucket. And then the other thing I put on here that you wouldn't necessarily think of as a chemical, but is your mindset. So if your mindset starts to get poor, that adds stress to your life and you just have less margin. It's almost like it can shrink your bucket. When you have a lot of stress and tension and anxiety, your body just doesn't handle stress or chemicals as well, and you're going to overflow. And so when we go back and we go through your small groups, you're going to sit here in your life, you're consistently having this pour into the bucket. And your score on toxicity is dependent on your lifestyle. So we're going to give you the sheet that you filled out, and we're going to give you your score. If your score is a 5 or a 3, you just have a slow trickle going into the bucket. If your score is a 12 or a 15, you're really messing with your toxicity levels, and it's a lot harder to sustain. Does that make sense? And so if somebody, and we'll read through what the numbers mean, but if somebody's getting in 15, 18, 20, you're kind of just playing with fire and you're waiting for the major issue, right? So what we want to do is lower that toxicity load. So here's a quote I thought was funny. Doctors keep adding more water to the bucket instead of plugging up the holes. I thought that was really interesting. Or actually, they should be adding more holes. So one story, some of you were at the seminar that we had in January, and this was just such a great story, and I thought it was just a good reminder of toxicity. The body needs no help. Nature needs no help healing, just no interference. And so this is the city of Cleveland in 1870, and from 1870 to 1830, there was a big industrial boom. And all around Lake Erie, the cities were just booming and growing fast, and there was a ton of industry, but there was very little regulation. So all these cities are booming, all these factories are booming, and what happened is they were just dumping right into the rivers and the streams, and it was going right into the lake. And so they didn't think much of it, but when one factory's doing it, then another, then an entire city, and then multiple cities, pretty soon it was destroying the entire lake. And the lake started to become poisonous. They called it the Dead Sea of North America, where the fish wouldn't survive in it, they wouldn't let kids swim in it. There was literally, they had these signs that said, warning, polluted water, unsafe, right? So that's where the lake was sitting. That was 1930. The lake was just toxic, and it just continued on for years and years and years. And people just knew, don't go in this lake. So I didn't know this until I heard it from somebody else sharing the story. So now when you get this lake that's basically dead, and the fish can't survive, what do you think a good solution is for the fish to survive? Do you think we add fish hospitals? Do you think that's the solution? We just bandage them up and then they'll be better. We send them right back into the lake, right? Do you think we add pharmacies? If we just put some fish pharmacies and we gave them the right chemicals, then that would be the solution. Doesn't that sound kind of foolish? But what do we do to our bodies? Our bodies get overwhelmed and we say, let's just bandage it up. Let's just add chemicals. And in a crisis that can save your life, it can. But it's not always addressing the root solution. And it doesn't necessarily mean we're making ourselves healthier or our situation better off moving forward. So the real solution is you stop poisoning the water, right? And so in 1972, they created the Clean Water Act, and they limited the amount of dumping into Lake Erie. So that's what they did in 1972. And so here it is in 1930, and here it is today. It's a clean lake, fresh fish, people fish. I actually have a patient that goes there and fishes every year. And it's funny for me to hear that now. It's like they do fishing trips in this lake, and it's a desirable place to be years later because all they did was stop adding the chemicals, and nature did the rest. And so if you can just stop adding it to your own self, nature can do quite a bit. And so the body needs no help healing, it just needs no interference. And so what we're going to do is we want to continue to come back to these principles. The body needs no help, just no interference. We're gonna come back to these principles and we're gonna talk through how do we stop adding it and where are your action steps. We wanna exit conventional. We wanna be different than just average. And so we're gonna give you some resources, and what the resources look like. One thing you're gonna get, and I would say the crown jewel in my mind is what we call a detox checklist, and we're gonna walk you through how to go through here. But this is just different areas of your life where you wanna be very intentional with these areas to start reducing your toxic load and your exposure. And if you know, when you go through this, if you know that you've done a good job with this, you can check it off. If you're not sure, you wanna go check it and then work on changing it. This is something you just hang in your bathroom, you can hang this in your kitchen. This isn't like it has to be changed tomorrow, but you start working at it really, and you'll do really well. The other resources, anything you wanna walk through, is we have a 10 by 10 green and thrifty cleaning products. So they're just gonna give you different healthy ways to clean certain things. So we have like toilet bowl cleaner, stainless steel cleaner, all-purpose cleaning spray, glass cleaner, floor cleaner, laundry detergent. So you're gonna get that resource. And then the third thing is you're gonna get mailed out to you or emailed out to you is you're gonna get a non-toxic resource list. So this is the one that Hillary updated to give you better resources for non-toxic ingredients, things that we use and that we pay really, really close attention to. So those are all resources you're gonna get this week to start focusing on. In small groups, we wanna go through questions, we wanna go through the resources, and we wanna go through the action steps. Now, one of the best things that you can do is once you start learning information, is start to apply it. I've had a lot of people where they say, oh, Dr. Neal, I'm gonna make changes on nutrition. I wanna be really healthy eating, but I have a freezer full of junk food, so let me just eat that first. And then I'm gonna start, right? And then I'm gonna start eating healthy. Have everybody felt that way or heard that before? And in my mind, I'm like, you'd be better off not even starting, because then you at least wouldn't feel like you tried and failed, right? It's like you didn't actually try, because 3 days later, you're a different person than you are today. Like the energy it takes to get started. And usually when you're excited to do something, that's the time to capitalize on making changes. In 3 days or a week or 2 weeks, you may not have the same focus or excitement or enthusiasm to make change. You're a different person making different choices at that point. So when you really take time to learn stuff and you say, I know this is good for me, that's usually the best time to do it. So we always laugh in our house about this idea of like the diet starts on Monday. If we say the diet starts on Monday, the diet's not starting. But if we actually want to do something, we're like, right now I'm starting. Right? That's the difference. And it's like, hey, I need to start getting better with nutrition. I'm going to write out my plan. Okay, it starts now. Right? That's where change happens. Anything that you want to add?
Yeah, a couple things, housekeeping things. Raise your hand if you have this book. All the newbies should have it. Some of you who've been around a while, you don't have this book. You can get this for 10% off. This is our go-to resource when it comes to all things toxicity-wise. So in a minute, you're going to be given your actual assessment. Some of you might look at it and you say, why is this thing a bad thing? Or why are you saying this has actually increased my toxic load? And the first thing we're going to say is read chapter 6. Because a lot of the answers are in here. We want you to have the tools, so you don't have to just rely on us being open to answer a text message. We want you to have the tools in your home. So if you don't have the resource, I'll give you 10% off today. That's that. Appendix E has some really great resources. A couple other things. Some of you asked, can we email you the slides? If there's something specific you didn't get written down or didn't get a picture of, make sure you email the office and we'll get you connected with that. Talking fast, I need to slow down. Okay, the next thing, you are each going to, I'm going to break you up into small groups, and we are using a shape to help you differentiate who goes where. So in a second, I'm going to read that off, but let me just do couple caveats. The resources you're going to get are not the only resources that are healthy. They're not, the EWG is not the only app. There are some other great products, great brands. We just want to give you something that you can take and not be too overwhelmed without, I feel like sometimes when I have too much, I'm like, I don't even know where to start. So we gave you some options, but not all the options. So questions. We have questions.
What group am I in?
We have, one more little surprise. We have a community partner that is going to be here after your small groups on your way out. She's going to have samples. A lot of people ask us questions and we respond by, we use essential oils. So we don't teach on essential oils, but they're a great resource. So we're going to connect you with somebody. If you would like to learn, how do I clean with essential oils? Or how do I add this to my deodorant? Or whatever essential oil questions you have, Emily is going to be here afterwards. She'll have some samples of lemon essential oil and she'll be there to answer any questions that you might have. And I think she has an upcoming essential oil class that you can get signed up for. So just know on your way out, you'll see her. She's just our favorite resource. Did you guys know that we are on Facebook Live right now? We are. Dr. Neal is gonna stop that in a minute, and the reason we went on live is because we think that this matters, and there's probably somebody in your life that needs to know this. They need to know about the toxic load, so you are welcome to share that. You're welcome to read those